There was a couple of speeches at the RNC from women who are being described as sex performers, a woman who has defended Satanism. I did have the opportunity to watch the speech that Amber Rose gave, and I want to just predicate this on the following fact. I don't know a thing about Amber Rose, not a thing, and I tried to do some research last night. I'm still not even really clear on who she is. This other lady who spoke, I'm just now reading about this morning, reading about the platform change. You cannot defeat the thing you're fighting by becoming the thing you're fighting. You simply replace the thing you're fighting. And with all respect and love, and at this point, some actual admiration for President Trump, it's hard for me to admire political figures. His refusal to cave, I can't help but admire it. And I truly believe this is why God equipped President Trump this way, is because he won't cave. And so the committee will cave for him. Amber Rose, as I understand it, is someone who's made a living with her body. And I understand that another one of these ladies is a performer on OnlyFans. Again, I don't know their hearts. I've never met them. God judges, we discern. But the Republican National Committee removing biblical marriage from their platform and appearing to want to adopt some of the more sexually liberal, therefore socially liberal, if not positions, then posing in those positions, no pun intended at all, by the way. You cannot fight a thing by becoming the thing. We are not, our issue is not authoritarianism. It's not communism. It's not socialism. It's not the color revolution. It's not the cultural revolution. Those are not our issues. Those wouldn't be issues if we were a society that was based fully on the Word of God. If we were operating on the Ten Commandments and we were operating on love the Lord with all your heart and all your soul, and the second one being like it, love your neighbor as yourself, we wouldn't be in the position we're in. The cultural revolution wouldn't work in a nation that had a rock solid, unchangeable, unchanging definition of truth. The reason there's no such thing as a fiscal conservative and social liberal is because social liberalism destroys all fact, because it removes the arbiter of fact. It removes truth. Truth is not it's not a word. It's not a theory. It's not an adjective. It's not a noun. It's a person, which I guess is described as a noun. Truth is God, and God is truth. And his word is the word that matters. As the Republican Party appears to want to bring pagans on and other people on stage and to build the big tent, they may well win the world. They may well win the world, which is a dying entity, and which will be remade in a new heaven and a new earth, but not everybody will be in it. If you truly want America back, you have to have Christianity back. You have to have respect for the Lord back. You can't have one and not the other. You can have a version of America, maybe a little bit better than the version we have now, maybe on some big policies far better, like immigration. And I believe President Trump will act on that, like voter integrity, election integrity. I believe he'll act on that. On the foreign front, foreign affairs, I believe he'll get us out of these endless wars. I believe that. But in any material sense, in any eternal sense, in any sense of being secure in America, you have to first secure souls. A godless nation cannot have God's favor. God cannot favor a godless nation. He won't. He can't. What partnership can light have with dark, or good with evil? And meanwhile, at the Republican National Committee, we're going to celebrate paganism, which is a lie. Satanism, which is a lie. We're going to embrace lies to defeat liars. We're going to become liars to defeat liars. It doesn't work that way. We must rejoin truth, or we end up making excuses like these people have made excuses. Don't give into it. When President Trump was not sufficiently racist, they found ways to make what he was saying racist when he talked about fine people on the both sides of a debate. that was the debate about statues, they turned that into him saying that Nazis are very, very fine people. Meanwhile, there's this. The Washington Post reports, this is their words, breaking news, President Biden is finalizing plans to endorse major changes to the Supreme Court in the coming weeks, including proposals for legislation to establish term limits for the justices and an enforceable ethics code. Let's translate this. This is a campaign plea for the people who run the figurehead. The executive and Congress does not have the right to limit Supreme Court appointments. That would have to be a constitutional amendment. And in terms of an enforceable ethics code, once again, this is an issue of separate branches of government. They know this, but they don't care because this is not about truth and it's not about preserving anything other than power. That's what they're concerned with preserving. If the Republican Party wants to play into this, one of the things they should not do is to become this by virtue of having people on stage and a platform that completely departs the Word of God. Now, are they as godless as the Democrats? Not yet, but it seems like they want to get there and get there quickly. When you want to get to a place quickly, look at where people are at and how they got there and see if this is how you do it. This is a person named Jess Brands. Jess Brands is a councilwoman for Upper Darby Township in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. This is Libs of TikTok writing. Even worse, she works for straight Democrat House Rep Heather Boyd from Pennsylvania. After the assassination attempt against Trump, she posted on Facebook, A for effort. Representative Boyd, does your employer speak for you? Delaware County, are you okay with your councilwoman celebrating violence? A for effort. There it is. There's her profile. That's a real person, or his profile. That's a real person. Kenneth Gucker is a former Connecticut state rep, a Democrat. He's very upset that the shooter missed. And here's his meme. Missed him by that much. You cannot become the thing. Oh, by the way, let's take a look at Kenneth, just so that he gets the fun of being on the video show. That's Kenneth. Very upset that the shooter missed. You cannot become or cannot destroy a thing by becoming the thing. When the Republicans depart the Word of God on their platform and by the virtue of the people they have to come to speak at their committee, they cannot fight a thing because they're busily becoming the thing. Most Americans are not insane people. Most Americans are not on the edge of going out and committing violence. Most Americans. Most Americans don't listen to Joy Reid, who is back to doing the Hitler comparison thing. This is Joy Reid.
Then let me know who I got to vote for to keep Hitler out the White House. That's it. I'm done. Oh, and by the way, if it's Biden in a coma, I'm going to vote for Biden in a coma. I don't even really particularly like the guy. A lot of his policy, don't like him. He's not Donald Trump, right? Yeah. Hitler, White House. We keeping him out. Keeping Project 2025 out. That's all I care about. Up and down the ballot from the rooted to
the tootie. That level of fear, that level of paranoia can come from one place. Deception. And the master of deception is the same master of deception who's whispering into the ear of the Republican National Committee. Have strippers and sex performers and porn actresses and maybe pornographic actors, not that that's acting, have them on stage. Embrace this. Show that you're hip like the young people. Remove from the platform the definition of biblical marriage. Move towards culture. Culture swims upstream of politics. It is not the Democrat Party that is destroying the country. It's culture. And that culture is being forced down onto the families. When families gather to watch the Republican National Committee, they should be watching a party that's based upon the following. The strength of faith. Yes, Republicans should embrace faith. In my judgment, the Christian faith. Is that a separation of church and state issue? It's not. It's a recognition of reality. God is real. He sent his one and only son to die for us so that we'd have an opportunity for redemption. A free gift given, not something we can earn, but something we can accept. He was the author of truth. He is the author of truth because he is and now and always will be truth. Predicating your platform based on that and then moving up to family. What is family? It's the first thing that God invented for human beings. After he created Adam, he created Eve, and from there, kids came, family. God showed us how family should be. When he walked with Adam and Eve, they were naked with no concern. God walked with them. There was no shame. Among family members, there was just sharing until the lie came into the world. And Satan came and told the lie to divide the family, and then the enmity came. And still God pursued us. The Republican Party should be part of that, the tight family unit. Why? Because a country based upon the Word of God, then powered by tight family units who attend church together, is a country much harder to break. There's a reason that Satan likes power centers. He can distract those of us who are just ordinary folks using his ordinary toolkit, distract, distort, depress. In centers of power, he uses something else. It is a distraction, but it's the oldest distraction on earth. Access to the illusion of power, or even feeling like you have some. I will never forget the night I was sitting in my office and a deputy who worked for me, very good guy, doesn't know the Lord, I hope one day he will, came down to my office and he knocked on the door. I was in a closed door meeting and I said, just 15 minutes. He goes, I really need to see you, boss. I cleared the room, brought in this deputy, and he had the sickest look on his face. And he goes, I got to just tell you what I just saw. I was just upstairs and he was looking for a guy who worked in fundraising. I was looking for this guy. We had to get him to sign off on this thing. He wanted to do a fundraiser with us, and I had wanted nothing to do with it because it was a stupid design for a fundraiser. He had this idea that was not going to work. I knew it was going to work. I didn't want to work on it, but this deputy decided to help him to be a good guy on his own time. So he knocks on the door, and he heard this guy say something. He thought it was come in, and it wasn't. And as he stepped into the room, here is a man in his mid-40s, a heavy man in his mid-40s, having sex with two male interns in the Republican National Committee workplace. My deputy said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and shut the door and came downstairs and told me this. "What do I do?" he said. I said, "You go to the lawyers. You go to your desk and you write me an email about what you saw and you CC the lawyers. You do that right now. You name names." He did it. That guy left. I'm not ever and haven't ever been clear on whether those young men were 18. I think they were. I'm pretty confident they were. I'm 99% sure they were. I pray to God they were. I should have checked. Power is going to draw people like that because power begets the ability to con others, to blackmail others. Power is always going to corrupt in human hands because human beings are broken at the core. That's the sin issue. The Republican National Committee can have the finest ads. They can have the toughest candidate. There has never been a presidential candidate, in my opinion, tougher than Donald John Trump. Not one. And you can win the election, even through the vote fraud. God can make that happen. If President Trump is put into power through the great providence of God, and President Trump runs an administration filled with people who think it's okay to have sex in the hallways, there's no win at all. It goes back to this: ashes to ashes, dust to dust. It's a minor victory to get your country back for a few years. The only victory that matters is eternal. And if you seek the eternal victory by living by God's law, you will get America back. So prioritize. And that's a quick lesson on why I don't watch political theater. I don't invest in it. Obviously, I observe it enough to be able to talk about it with you. But I am not of this world. I'm in it. I'm a visitor.